our assignment was a little bit weird, wasn't it?
I thought so.
Yeah.
It was pretty strange.
I had a hard time finding something suitable to the example.
I had a hard time understanding exactly what it was asking.
It was phrased really funny at least for me, but
Thank you.
I assume they just wanted us to find something with assumption of risk involved in it.
Not necessarily the assumption of risk, but the defense, and it has to be in a what kind of case?
She told me
Negligence case, right?
she told me that it didn't have to be in a case. So I did an article.
That's the same thing I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be an article, yeah. It didn't have to be a case, just like mine wasn't really a case. It was, they were going to prosecute, but they didn't.
Oh, okay. All right.
See, mine didn't even have they weren't even prosecuting. It didn't even get to that far, because the assumption of risk, I thought, was the guy running in to save the because I did it on the Arizona trooper who some guy, he pulled over some guy, and then he started like beating him up. And so my assumption of risk was he came in, the other car came in and told him to leave the trooper alone, but he didn't. He still kept on hurting him, and he just pulled out his gun and shot him. So I don't know if that's what they were looking for, but that's what I got out of the assumption of risk.
So who would be getting charged in that case? Who was the defense?
Well, my personal opinion is that because the person who he shot and killed, if their family came after him and like sued him for manslaughter or something like that, then he could use the assumption of risk.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I took out of it. I don't know if that's right, but that's what I took out of it.
Works for me. Okay, I guess we've got Lynette's example. Somebody else want to share? I'll go ahead and share mine.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's called Chinese Prosecutors Drop Negligence Charges Against Police Officers in Death of a Man. The article tells about a case in Beijing where 5 police officers were accused of negligence in the death of a 29-year-old Li Yang. He had been found in a prostitution raid at a foot massage parlor. Though the police said they had not been overly forceful with the man, his family claimed that he had bruises on his body. Prosecutors claimed that the 5 police officers had used excessive force by going as far as to step on his neck, which caused him to choke on his own vomit. However, the prosecutors failed to file charges against the police officers because they were remorseful, and Mr. Li had put himself at risk because of resisting arrest. So he put himself in risk by resisting arrest. So that's where I thought that could be assumption of risk. But yeah, that was the close. I tried looking after I found this article for a better one, but I couldn't find one. So that was what
I couldn't either. I searched everywhere, and the Wall Street Journal didn't help with it. So I just kind of went with my own gut feeling, and that's the article that stood out to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Israel.
All right. I think yours are better, so I'm just gonna read mine because I don't even have a case. It's just like an example of when it can be applied. It says this article shows how accidents in the entertainment industry that occur to employees other than actors in filming sets often are hidden. Although the article has not a specific case to show us assumption of risk defense to negligence, it certainly shows situations in which an industry can apply it. Stuntmen and other staff members knowingly and voluntarily face dangerous situations. Producers can avoid or reduce sanctions using assumption of risk as a defense. So I don't have an example. I just have this article, um, which it shows how an industry uses that element to avoid paying uh, big money when accidents happen.
Mhm. Now, I feel like after listening to all three of you, obviously, you guys read this differently than me. I analyzed the heck out of this sentence, and what I got from it was, excuse me, we're to provide. You know, I want to make sure everybody got their scenarios from that Wall Street Journal or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
Yes.
No,
That's
I
true for-
didn't. I got
Okay.
mine from CNN. I think CNN.
Okay, just so you know, have you already submitted your individual assignment on this?
Yes.
Okay, it was supposed to be from the Wall Street Journal.
Really.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What I got from this sentence was that we were to provide an example of the defense in a I don't know why I continue to forget what the word is that I'm looking for here.
Negligence.
Negligent case. Oh my gosh. I every time I've been saying that like 100 times today, and every time I forget this what is negligence case. I thought we were to provide an example of the defense in a negligence case, or affirmative defenses from the defense on, in a negligence case. So that being my mindset, I came up with, here, I'm going to do a screen share here so you can see what I did. Oh, where the heck did my, that go? Here it is. Screen share, your entire screen. Share. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, actually, this is the one I just put this together because I had a little bit of time between assignments, but this is the one I did for my individual. It was Delana versus Odyssey Gun and Pawn. Basically, what happened is this woman or this girl, she had gone and bought a gun from these people, and then she tried to kill herself with it. And her mom, like, stopped her or whatever, and then called that pawn shop and said, "Hey, look, my girl came down there, bought a gun. We took it from her. Make sure she's mentally unstable. She's got all kind of medical. She suffers from paranoid schizophrenia, and depression. So don't sell her a gun." 2 days later, the girl goes back there, and they sell her a stinking gun. She ends up killing her dad.
Oh wow.
So now the mom wants to sue the pawn shop, right? And so what I took from it was what the defense, basically what the defense was, what their affirmative defenses were. And so anything that's, you see how this is green and underlined, green and underlined, green, that was the affirmative defense to this negligence case. Now they were negligent, or allegedly they were negligent, But so the complaint alleges that the dealer should have known better. The mom called and said, "Don't sell my kid a gun." She goes in there and they sell her a gun. The defense, and they say, "Hey, they're liable because they shouldn't have sold her the gun. They knew darn well she couldn't, she couldn't be trusted with it." So that's why the mom's trying to file this lawsuit. However, the defense counsel, Kevin James, argues that the 2005 Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act was intended to prevent such lawsuits and potential chilling effects on commerce. That's their affirmative defense, saying, hey, there's laws protecting me. You can't come after me. Basically, you have no lawsuit because of this. That's their affirmative defense. Also, judges in April upheld the Constitution. In this particular case, judges in April upheld the constitutionality of that law, but said certain negligence lawsuits can be brought under the state law under gun sellers. The judges cited an exemption in federal law, which allows for lawsuits if the seller knows or reasonably should know that the buyer likely will use the product in a manner involving unreasonable risk or physical injury, blah, blah, blah. Additionally, defense counsel argued, and here's another example of their affirmative defense, is everybody who sells cars, alcohol, chainsaws, or anything that could potentially be harmful now has to be a psychologist. The plaintiff and defendant, and they ended up settling, awarding the plaintiff $2.2 million. But the pawn shop continued to argue after, saying the fact that they ended up settling could dissuade those interested in selling guns from opening stores and might be used to crack down on firearms dealers in other states. He also said it could have a broader impact on other types of stores, which ultimately limits our freedom. So that's their affirmative defenses, basically. And that's how I read it, and I could be totally wrong, but that's how I read it. So I provided what I thought to be the affirmative defenses in a negligence case. That's what I did. I came up with a quiz question and the answers here, and also, did all this stuff right here or whatever. Just in case. Just so I had it all written out.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure what it was supposed to be. I just thought it was supposed to be about assumption of the risk.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either.
It's in a defense to negligence. So the case is about negligence, but the defense uses assumption of risk. That's the way I read it. So I don't know.
Assumption of risk. See what that is a defense in the law of torts, which bars or reduces a plaintiff's right to recovery against a negligent tortfeasor if the defendant can demonstrate that the plaintiff voluntarily, knowingly assumed the risks at issue inherent in the dangerous activity in which he was participating at the time. So it bars or reduces a plaintiff's right to recovery against a negligent, defendant. If the defendant can demonstrate that the plaintiff voluntarily and knowingly assumed the risks at issue inherent to the dangerous activity in which he was participating. So now I lost you guys. Actually,
I'm still here.
We're here.
No. I couldn't find the button to bring up the screen again. But actually, now that I read that, so that's telling me it would be a case where, or not necessarily a case, but a circumstance where the plaintiff, maybe there were damages, but the defendant saying, "Hey, the plaintiff should have known," and they at the time of purchase or the time of the incident, they knew what they were getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Is what that line seems to mean to me.
Yeah, that's why I talked about the stuntman, if something happens to them, they gotta know. But the thing is, I don't have an article where there is a situation where you need to apply the assumption of risk. So I don't know. Maybe we can think of something so we can do the quiz question.
I'm trying to find you guys again. Oh my gosh. I don't know why I keep losing you guys. I don't know where you're at. Oh, there you are. This is a tough one. You know, I looked at some of the other ones, and some of the other groups got pretty easy ones.
I know. I know.
That's okay, though, because you know what? We all know the easy ones. We're not going to learn by doing that. We're going to learn by doing this.
Well, and I think we got a pretty easy one last week, so I think she's trying to
Balance it out.
balance it out.
Yeah, makes sense. I'll accept that.
I'm looking because I didn't see anything in the Wall Street Journal. That's why I branched out, and that annoys me.
There's a search box as soon as you logged on, in the top right corner, and just I typed in oh my gosh, Israel, help me with the word again.
Negligence.
Oh my gosh, I looked up negligence or negligent, and I got a bunch of things came up, tons, and I just started surfing through them. I like guns. I'm pro gun. I'm not saying I agree with what that pawn shop did. I totally disagree, but I saw guns and I stopped and I read it, and since I had so much time invested in reading it, I decided I'm going to use it.
Well, what does everyone want to use?
Well, obviously not mine, since mine it came from CNN.
I guess, yeah, it would probably be good to use one from the Wall Street Journal.
So one of you three. I mean, I don't know. Because I don't know.
Shayla,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but I can't remember. Was yours
It was about a prostitution ring.
right? I'm trying to remember. Did you explain?
The 5 police officers were they were going to be prosecuted for negligence, but the prosecutors decided not to because the 5 police officers showed remorse and because they claimed that Mr. Lee put himself at risk because of resisting arrest. So it wasn't an actual case, but it was negligence. And
So there was really at no time in that situation was there a defense.
the defense, the reason the prosecutor, no, not a real defense, no, but the reason the prosecutors didn't file charges on the police officers was because Mr. Lee had put himself at risk and because the police officers, this is China, so it's different. Anyway, and they were remorseful.
So yours, I would say, let me go back to what the thing says. An example of the assumption of the risk defense to negligence, or of another affirmative defense to negligence. An example of the assumption of the risk. Now, I would say, and please help me because I'm not the brightest crayon in the box.
No, I'm not saying that.
I think she agreed with me.
No, I wasn't agreeing.
I think please, I'm trying. It seems to me like, does your story seem to fit an example of the assumption of risk as opposed to an example of the assumption of the risk defense?
I thought it was I don't know what it was asking us to do because of that wording is very difficult for me to understand. I thought we needed in a case of negligence that we needed to give an assumption of risk, where like for the defense, the person that would be prosecuted. Like Israel's example.
Oh, you just really, the way you said that actually just opened my mind. I actually see exactly what you're saying now.
And like Israel's example was of people that put themselves in a place of risk. So if they were to, if they were to claim, negligence against other people, they could, use assumption of risk on them. So I think we could use that. It's kind of a tough topic.
Yes,
But yeah, I don't know
agree.
if I understood it right. So I think what majority rules on this one, whatever everyone thinks.
I am never, I'm the guy that sits at the back of the class, okay, and I like to be as quiet as possible. And the last thing I ever try to do is try to sound like the guy that's right. But I have a feeling that based on the way this is written, where it gives you the or,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that what happens before the word or and what happens after the word or are synonymous.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
That's
I
what
believe an example, the assumption of the risk defense to negligence is very similar to, and they're asking for that or this other similar thing, which is of another affirmative defense to negligence. And the way I'm reading that, the second part of that on the latter side of the or, to me, is very clear. It was what happens before the word or that was a little fuzzy. But if they're synonymous, then I would, in my mind, go with or believe that what the second part is saying is similar to what the first part is saying. Basically, provide an example of an affirmative defense to negligence. So the way I'm reading it, and it seems very clear to me now, at least the second half, is that we're to provide an example from the Wall Street, whatever it's called,
Journal.
find an example of what someone did as a defense to a situation where there was an assumption of risk. Where there's an assumption of risk and then someone sues, what did the defense do in that assumption of risk? What did they do to protect themselves? What type of affirmative defenses did they provide in explaining the assumption of risk and limiting their liability to the damages? That's how I'm seeing it.
I asked, because I had issues with what she really wanted. So I emailed her and I'm like, do you want an actual case or do you want an article? And she said that an article is just fine. If you can find an article
But I wasn't saying that it had to be a court case. But what I mean is, that's not what I was saying. What I'm saying that I see to be clear is that we're to provide what did I do to say that I'm not guilty?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it's asking is provide an example where someone defended themselves by saying, hey, I'm not guilty because you should have known better.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it's saying. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a court case. And I'm embarrassed. I don't even know how to say it, but I'm saying I don't see that in the story with the guy that was beaten by the police. Because
I thought that was the defense for the police.
No, but they would
because Mr. Lee put himself in a place of risk. Does that make sense? Because he resisted arrest?
But that would assume that the guy that got hurt, that stepped on his neck and all that, that guy was going to sue the police. Did he?
No, the prosecutors were going to charge the police, but they didn't. It was a case of negligence. They were going to charge the police with negligence, but they didn't because they claimed that Mr. Lee put himself in a place of risk by resisting arrest. So it is, I do feel like it is a bit of a stretch, but that was the best that I could find.
Right. I'm not seeing where someone had to defend themselves. They
No,
never
no,
had.
no. No, it was just, that was the defense the prosecutor used. It's different. It's in China. I don't know exactly how it works in China, but that was what the prosecutors used to decide not to prosecute. That was the defense they gave for the police officers, if that makes sense. And it's in China, so a lot of things are controlled by the government. And so they're also in there that lots of blogs and things were deleted that were in support of prosecuting the police. Anyway, I do think it's a bit of a stretch, and I'm totally fine with it. I was not seeing the assumption of risk in your case. Did you have an assumption of risk?
You're talking to me?
Yeah, Shane, sorry.
Yeah, the assumption of risk is, hey, you're buying a gun. You need to be responsible with it. You do something stupid with it, it ain't my fault.
Okay. I see.
It was
I didn't get that
negligence.
out of it.
It was negligence for them to sell her that gun, especially since how they knew that she had mental problems, and the rules are very strict when you have mental problems that you are not to have a firearm. Period.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, and that's exactly why I'm looking at my example. You have a negligence case, which it's clearly negligent.
Yeah, it is.
You have an assumption of risk, which is, hey, I'm selling you a gun. You need to be responsible with it. You do something stupid, don't come to me. You also have an affirmative defense. Hey, that person did something stupid, and I'm protecting myself by saying there are laws saying that if you go do something stupid, now I'm not saying they're right, and that's where, the lawyers will get involved and you'll have a hearing on it. But it seems to have all the ingredients: the assumption of risk, the affirmative defense. It's a negligence case. It seems to put the bill in every scenario.
When I read,
I'm arguing for
go
us
ahead.
to use
I'm
it,
sorry.
but I'm scared that we do it and then we don't get a good grade, and then everyone's pointing their finger at me like, Shane, you sat there and you lectured us. But I feel like it does. I put a lot of thought into this, and I tortured myself over this question and analyzed it inside and out, upside and down, and I felt like what I ended up doing really seemed to fit the whole question, or the whole assignment.
But what I got out of reading that paragraph, because there wasn't much on assumption of risk, what I got out of it is somebody in trouble, and somebody like somebody running in and trying to help them. And I don't really see that in yours, and that's what I don't know. I may be out in left field, but that's what I got out of the assumption of risk.
I understand. That's because that's the example in the book. I believe that's what you get, that that definition, right? But
Yeah.
I think Shane's example, I like it. I mean, I only have some doubts. For example, I don't recall what's the defense of the assumption of risk. Shane?
That would be if like if I give you. I'm trying to think of another example.
Mm-hmm.
I sell you a case of Monsters.
No, but wait. I mean, in your example.
Oh, in my example,
Yeah.
something as risk is I'm selling you a weapon. Be responsible with it. If you do something stupid, if you go out, hurt yourself, shoot yourself in the foot by accident, or something like that, don't come to me and say, hey, you should have never sold me this gun.
And
I'm telling you that you need to leave here and be responsible with that. You're assuming the risk, not me.
all right, but that's what I want to know if it was a pawn shop, right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, pawn shop, right?
Okay. Does the example mention if they follow any alignments for selling the gun or anything?
Well, they would
Yes.
have to follow the federal laws on it
That's
by not selling it to a mental ill person, and that's what they did. It seems like that's what they did in the article.
all right, but that's what I want to know. In the article, I don't recall if they mention if they follow any alignments or anything. And I don't know if it is necessary since it was the mom coming to them and telling them, not showing them that she was mental ill.
Right. And that's right. And my argument is that the intricate details of what happened at the purchase are irrelevant. What's important is there was an assumption of risk. There was a negligence case. They were negligent. And in my
Mhm.
opinion, they're wrong. They should have never sold her the gun. But they did. She did something stupid with that gun. And so now we have a negligence case. And in providing an example of an affirmative defense, the pawn shop, which I'm not agreeing with, the pawn shop said, "Hey, there is no it, an affirmative defense is
Okay.
just their defense. It doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just what I'm saying to try to protect myself, and I'm countering your argument, your lawsuit with this, and it could be wrong, but that doesn't mean it's not an affirmative defense."
Okay, so is that the defense they gave in your article?
Yeah, they're saying
Okay, so you're using their defense of themselves,
right. Yeah.
not the defense in the case, like that got, like what didn't win kind of thing.
Or they
I
ended up
see it.
it didn't go to trial. It ended up settling before
Oh
it went
yeah.
to trial.
For $2.2 million. I wish I could have that settlement.
That's a nice one, isn't it?
Not for
Well-
what happened though, right?
No.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I am going with Shane. I like his example, and
Yeah.
I think it is complete. And as he says, it doesn't need to be, your defense doesn't need to be right. You just need to try to defend yourself.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
We're just to provide an example of an affirmative defense in
Mhm.
And
in a negligence case. Whoa! I finally thought of the word negligence. In a negligence
You know what? Give me 5.
assumption of there was an assumption of risk. They should have never sold it, but that's irrelevant.
Right.
There was an assumption of
exactly.
risk. There was negligence, and then they had to defend themselves. And here's their affirmative defense of saying, "You can't touch me because of this law." But if it had ended up going to trial, the pawn shop would have probably lost, and that's why they probably settled. Again, they don't have to be right, but they provided an affirmative defense. And I think our responsibility for this assignment was to provide an example of an affirmative defense in a
Case of negligence.
negligence where there was an assumption of risk. And I think that does it.
Yes, I agree. I think yours would be the best one.
Okay. Well, the good news,
Shayla, what do you think?
if
Yeah, I said so already.
okay, if you guys
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
if you guys agree to that, then there's some good news because it's already done.
We should probably go over it together though, since
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a group project.
No, well, trust me, we have to because we have to go over all the questions and answers and stuff.
Yes.
Let me do a screenshot here.
But
again.
we're off to a great start.
Yeah. Thanks, Shane. It will cut the time pie in half.
Let's see, share. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is the one. All right, so name of those who participated. I'll paste the link here. Our example, the shop owner takes no liability for the purchase and illegal use of their product by the consumer. This is an example of the defense providing an affirmative defense in a negligence case. For Black's Law Dictionary, the following was found. What is an affirmative defense? In code pleading, new matter constituting a defense, new matter which, assuming the complaint to be true, constitutes a defense to it, which is, hey, there's existing law says you can't make any.
Shane, could you zoom in?
Oh,
No, it's
Oh, that's better. Thank you.
explanation of our example. This is where I explain it better. and please stop me and tell me to add something, delete something, change the whole thing completely. This example will help students to learn what an affirmative defense is, an example of how it applies to a negligence case where there is an assumption of risk. The shop owner knows and does not deny the wrong which was committed with the product purchased from their store. However, they do not take any responsibility for the actions of the purchaser based on cited laws in place to protect the seller from the actions of the consumer. This example can help clarify to the students how in a negligence case the defendant files or pleads affirmative defenses. Before I move on to the next one, does anybody think something should be revised?
Hey,
I think it seems good to me.
turn it off.
Yeah, to me too.
I don't care. It's 8:45.
Is that her? She left the room for a minute?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll wait for her. We were waiting for you. We didn't want to keep going until you got back.
Oh, thank you. I just had to go get the kids in bed.
We just read this paragraph and we were just seeing if there's anything that needs to be changed.
I didn't think so.
I had nobody taking me.
Just so you guys know, I'm not married to this. I don't even love it, but it's the best I can come up with. Delana contacted her local. You guys can. I don't have to read it out loud. You guys can read it.
Maybe you should read it out loud because otherwise it goes to other people's screens.
Yeah, because
Oh.
I can't see it now.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Delana contacted her local pawn shop and forewarned them that her daughter is mentally unstable and may be looking to purchase a gun. Delana instructed the pawn shop to not sell her daughter a gun. Delana's daughter purchased a gun 2 days later from that same pawn shop and killed her father and then attempted to kill herself. Delana filed suit against the pawn shop. The pawn shop argues and takes no responsibility for Delana's daughter's actions, as a law is in place to protect manufacturers and distributors from the illegal actions of consumers, of their products by consumers. The pawn shop's argument is, that's the question, really. What is the pawn shop's argument? An example of the assumption of the risk defense to negligence or of another affirmative defense to negligence. And why that's the correct answer is the defendant's argument that federal law exists excuse me, to protect manufacturers and distributors from the illegal actions of consumers. How did I write it up here? Actions of consumers. Actions of consumers is an example of an affirmative defense in a negligence case. That's why that's the right answer. A wrong answer is, and what I did is I tried to take ones from like the list that was there of the different group assignments.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so the question is, what the heck was it? The pawn shop's argument is an example of defamation in a negligence case. Well, it's not defamation because the plaintiff did not defame the defendant. I already forgot what it is. The pawn shop's argument. The pawn shop's. I have a terrible memory. The pawn shop's argument is an example of the mens rea required to convict a defendant of a crime. Now this is backwards, but that's intentional because you know what? You got to have one of them that's obviously not it. But anybody who doesn't read it, who knows? They might check that just if they're Christmas cheering the exam. This is not a criminal case, and therefore the defendant is not being convicted of a crime. So that can't be the answer. Wrong answer number 3. What is it again? The pawn shop's argument. The pawn shop's argument is an example of the defense in a white-collar crime. Well, it's not a white-collar crime. This is not a crime, nor a white-collar crime. A white-collar crime involves business theft or deceit. Was that all of them? Oh, yeah, because there's 4. 1, 2, wait. 2. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
one's the right answer.
Here's the correct answer.
Yeah.
All right, suggestions.
Can you go back up to the description? The
quiz question.
Yeah, the quiz question.
All right. And I need to talk to keep it up on your screens, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
One thing is not. I would change it to not to, but I don't know why. It just sounded funny, but maybe I'm wrong.
Tell me where. First line.
Delana instructed the pawn shop not to sell her daughter.
Yeah, I didn't like that either, and I meant to change it. I'm so glad you brought that up. Delana instructed the pawn shop not
to sell. Not to sell.
shop.
So it's right after. Yeah.
I don't even like that. I don't like it at all. Delana instructed the pawn shop, or see if we can rephrase this. They instructed the pawn shop. How about this? Shop to refuse
To sell her.
Selling. To refuse selling.
her daughter a gun. We'll look at it and then we'll change it if we don't like it. Delana instructed the pawn shop to refuse. Ugh, I don't like this. To refuse to.
To refuse selling her daughter a gun.
Yeah, I like
that's good.
there you go. Refuse. I like that. Selling. To refuse selling. No, wait a minute. Delana instructed the pawn shop to refuse selling. Refuse. How about this? Refuse her daughter. Oops. Her daughter. I like it.
You need to finish it, daughter.
I know, but I'm thinking about erasing the whole thing and rewriting it because I don't like anything how it's worded.
To refuse her daughter the purchase of a gun.
Instructed the pawn shop to refuse her daughter the purchase. Yeah, that sounds right. I like that one. What do you guys think?
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that works.
All right.
I was just wondering also if we could make it a little more clear of the assumption of risk. I didn't know if we could put a little more emphasis on that so that it would be clear to the reader.
In the quiz question?
Yeah.
Okay. The pawn shop argues and takes such responsibility.
Because we also have to take this quiz, even though we may think that this is like we know the right answer now, but the quiz is like what, 3 weeks from now? And who knows, we might not remember by then.
Consumer would assume. How's that phrase go?
Assumption of risk? Or what phrase?
Yeah, that's it. Assumption of risk.
Okay.
You could say the assumer takes the assumption of risk, or no, you can't say use assumption of risk. You gotta use something that just, that the user took the risk or put herself in a dangerous position. I don't know, something to say.
Assume liability for, additionally, how about this? Additionally, the pawn shop argued that the consumer would assume liability for their purchase, for misuse of their purchase, of the purchase. How about that? Additionally,
I'm just hoping for something that assumes a little more that they put themselves in a risky or a dangerous position by having, that kind of weapon.
well,
Does
no,
that make sense, or does anybody think it needs that, or is that just me?
the assumption of risk would be the not the pawn shop.
I know, I'm not talking about the pawn shop. I'm talking about the girl by purchasing the gun. Put herself.
Oh, she was mentally ill. That should have put a red flag that they shouldn't have sold it.
But how does the gun shop? Well, yeah, because the mom called.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear that this is assumption of risk, and I'm not sure that it would be to the reader, unless we talk about like the danger that she puts herself in or others in by purchasing it in the first place. I don't know.
I see where you're coming from.
I think the dangerous was her being mentally ill, buying the gun.
Right, but because of the laws protecting, as Shane shared, that the consumer takes on the responsibility basically when they purchase the dangerous weapon. They take on the risk. Right, and yes, while in this case, she was mentally ill, and so she couldn't be taking on the risk. That's what their defense was, right?
Yeah.
Because of the laws in place. I don't know. Just would you guys, if you saw this question, be able to know that it was assumption of risk?
No.
Well, see, this, I think that you keep going back to the whole thing is about assumption of risk, but I don't think it is. But I could be wrong. I think it's about, she asked us to provide an example of the defense.
Affirmative assumption of risk is the affirmative defense, right?
That's not their affirmative defense. Their affirmative defense is, well, actually, it really, broadly does come back to that. So yeah, you're actually absolutely right. In advance.
I just want to make sure that it can be clear to them which answer. I mean,
Yeah, I like what you're saying. It's making a lot of sense. We need to definitely add that here.
Then the consumer probably argue that the consumer knows, he accepts the risks of carrying a gun.
or the consumer
Because
takes
those
on the
are-
responsibility and risk, or I don't know. Is there another word for risk?
I don't know.
Takes all the responsibility of their actions. Purchase.
It could be affirmative defense, so they can relate to it. That's closer.
Because the consumer takes on the responsibility of their actions with the purchase of a firearm. This was much ups. But only one of the answers has affirmative defense in it. So we can't say that.
You can
Take
You can
out
delete that.
affirmative
uh-huh.
and just put defense. This is what their defense was.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Right now.
Yeah, it goes in and out.
Oh,
Why don't you click on Chains Square? If you click on it, it stays on your screen. Just click on the square that shows chains picture.
oh, you're talking to them. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you. Oh,
it will stay.
okay.
Where was
I thought you were talking to Shane. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, me
okay.
too.
thank you.
Additionally, the pawn shop argues that the consumer takes on the responsibility of their actions with the purchase of a firearm. This was the pawn shop's primary defense. Talk to me, guys.
To me, you cannot get any better, because I mean it was hard for us that were assigned to this concept. So I think it's going to be hard for everyone, and they will have to review their notes. I don't think you can get any clearer than that.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that seems good to me now.
Shayla, are you sure? Because I felt the same. I didn't until you expressed yourself. Then I felt what you were getting at, and it makes a lot of sense to me. Do you feel like this is satisfying?
I think so. I could even add the responsibility of the danger. I don't know. The
Okay.
responsibility of the
Of the,
danger.
it could be of the danger implied with the purchase of a firearm,
Yeah, I like that.
or instead of actions,
Wait, what did you say?
the responsibility of the danger implied with the purchase of
Assumed.
an.
The danger assumed.
Okay.
Oh, but then that dang it.
Well, he was. I mean, I thought what Israel was
Implied,
saying was really good. Implied, yeah.
but I don't know if that word doesn't fit there. It doesn't. It's not in the right context.
Mm-hmm.
Implied because
Implies.
it's
Implied.
a gun isn't implying
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
We could just leave it how it was. I think it's good enough like that.
Of the, remember what was there now?
Just hit the back button until.
Of their own act, or of no.
Okay, keep on going. There.
Yeah, that was it.
Takes on the responsibility of their actions. Yeah. With the
Yeah,
person.
I think that will be good.
No, guys. I hit the save button. Okay, let's move on. Do you guys have any feedback on these answers?
Sorry.
I hear you. It's late. I love it.
Yeah.
I took the day off of work tomorrow though, so I'm lucky. Just so I can
That's
get
nice.
just so I can get schoolwork done. I have so much to do. Are you guys still there?
Yes,
Yeah.
Does anybody want anything different, or are you good?
I'm good.
Looks good to me.
Okay, I can't think of anything different to do.
All right, if I let you guys down, I am so sorry. But I really studied the heck out of that question, and I felt like I got it. But then you guys helped me understand one other thing, which was the
I think that we are assuming the risk, so don't worry about it.
Yes, we're assuming the risk.
oh, how do I get the link for our video that we're in right now,
I
y'all?
think it was the link you clicked on, right?
Yes, that one. Just,
That will be good enough.
I think
Uh-huh.
it's up in the your bar,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Hangout Google.
Won't it be a YouTube video though when we're done?
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
So maybe Israel can send you the link.
All
okay,
right.
I'll do it. As soon as we stop broadcasting, I'll do it.
Do you guys want to address? I know at least two of you was talking about the.
The
case.
brief.
Is there anything that you guys want to discuss, or does anybody want to go ahead and clock out now? Since we could actually end the broadcast right now.
All right.
The
So,
recording of the video.
all right, that's it. I'm going to stop broadcasting. 3, 2, 1. We are